All right, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Royce the Voice, Orange Click, Orange Leaders. Shout out to K Team. Speak your thoughts or lose your mind. And it seems like we've been away for so long. Yes, it's been 2 weeks, and I've been popping in and out. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then, just to see how you guys are doing and how are y'all doing. You know what I'm saying? How are y'all doing, man? We really have a good good show today. Very enlightening. Um, Happy Black History Month, you know, to everyone. Of course, you guys know my feelings on expounding on that, and you know, we'll dip into that in a little bit. But you know, first, I just want to thank everybody, you know, for tuning in. And I know it's bad weather out here. I know some people's services may be out. I know there's some lights out on the other side of the tracks there, so I've been hearing. So I hope everybody is out there being safe. I hope you guys are out there being warm, and please, you know, just try not to be on the roads. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be down to like 10 degrees tonight. Really, 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 really cold. So if you guys, if you don't have anything to do, please stay in. And while you're in, if your lights are on and your internet's running, I need you to tune into this show. And I need everybody to share. Really share. You know, we really have a great topic. A controversial topic, I would say that, because we talked about this several times over and over, not just here in Tullahoma, but all over the world. And tonight we're going to be talking about black on black crime. Black on black crime. And I know we've heard this term many times, many times, and it's actually been brought up in some of the conversations that we've had this past fall, this past spring and summer. And it was always something that people would always bring up when we would argue about, police brutality, when we would argue about the Black Lives Matter movement. That was definitely a debatable thing that we were discussing. And a lot of people would counter and say, well, what about black on black crime? And since that topic has been brought up so many times, I figured, why not? Why not? Let's just talk about it. Let's stop turning the other cheek, closing ears, closing eyes. And I want to be able to tackle this issue head on. You know what I'm saying? Unapologetically, but of course, raw and professionally, and hopefully we can come up with some stats or some things, and maybe, just maybe, even a resolution. But in order for us to get a resolution, we have to have an open mind. We have to hold ourselves accountable for what's going on, here in our communities, and figure out a way that we can at least start to change the way our black communities are seen and how they're being dealt with. It can't be done overnight, but like many people have told me, it starts with the conversation. But before I bring my guest in, who's a regular, you know what I'm saying, and we're going to continue to have him as a regular as we proceed more into this show. Let me give a shout out to actually the channel 6 last week. They had me on their show. I wish I could have expounded a little bit more, but it was pretty much just an introduction of what myself and my team have been up to. But I just want to reach out to I think it was P Head Productions and Mr. John Gray for having me on as a guest. Really appreciate that. And yeah, and I think that's about it. But no, we got some things to talk about, guys. So without further ado, and while we're talking, I need you guys to share this. Please share this. We need to talk about this, especially our black communities, because this is not just about Tullahoma. This is about our surrounding counties and cities and states all around us. Okay, so without further ado, he is might as well be a regular here on this show. We always try to bring him on here when we have some good substance for him to talk about, and it seems like we never give him enough time, you know what I'm saying, to talk what he needs to talk. And that's why I was like, well, let's go on and just bring him on the show so he can enlighten us on some things, and I have some questions myself, and we just have a nice little talk. And so for anyone that is enjoying this conversation and would even like to tap in, either through the comments or through the video, you see the link right there in the comments. You guys make sure that you tap in, and we'll be inviting people soon. So without further ado, let's bring in my main man, Walter Hamliton, in this mug. What's up?
What's up, family?
Hey, man.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
You already know, man. It's also it's so good to hear. So good to have you on the show, man. Like I said, we try to have you on here. Anytime we have some topics that that we feel that you are definitely intrigued in, well versed, and even just with facts, or even your strong discernments and opinions and stuff that are pretty valid. And you're a respectable guy around here, especially down here in this Tullahoma area. And what better way, man, to bring your energy here, bring your enlightenment here, and have some good dialogue, man. So I hope you're ready, because I'm ready, and I hope everybody else is ready
too. Man, anybody that knows I'm always interested in a really good conversation. I think the conversation, I say it all the time, the conversation is what's important. That's the only way that you understand each other. I mean, different people, as long as there's people outside of your body and your physical space, you're going to have a conversation. And it may be nice, it may be very ugly, but the conversation is what's necessary. That's the only way.
Definitely, definitely, man, and definitely, this may be uncomfortable, in more ways than one, and I think it's definitely going to be uncomfortable, for our black community.
Yeah,
But nonetheless, we need to go on and get that out there. You know what I'm saying? So,
facts.
so we're talking about black on black crime, right? And I was speaking with my stepfather. He's a detective out there in Nashville, Vanderbilt, the metro area,
Okay.
and he holds classes and stuff throughout the week. Actually, discussing things like this, discussing the youth. Actually, he's actually been pretty much at the forefront of information on what's been going on in Nashville up there. Just
Mhm.
this year alone, I think we've had already 20, 21 homicides already. All, what I'm saying, of men and women of color. Um, in our black neighborhoods, mainly in Antioch and out north. I think a 15-year-old just lost his life last week,
Wow.
that he actually witnessed and whatnot. And he texted me and he was like, "Son," he said, "Man, we got to talk about this." Like, and I was trying to get him on too, but he works these 12-hour classes and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But I just thought, I say, well, you may not have a chance to get on, but at least I want to hold a show to it and have something for him to look at, so he can express himself too. Maybe even bring it up in class or whatnot. Have people to come check this out. So, of course, this link will be going out to those students out there at Vanderbilt
Mhm.
and in those Nashville areas. So, kind of excited about that. But man, let's just start general right now. Like, I want to talk about the conversation that always comes up. This past year, 2020, was a hell of a year, man. We
Man,
had a lot of debates about the BLM movement and black on black crime and white on white crime, and a lot of people say. And let me ask you this question: when we do have these kind of debates and stuff like that, a lot of people would tell me and tell others. Um, and I say, well, speaking on, we're talking about police brutality, and they say, black people are, being killed by the police, and there's no justice. And then, we have people that counter it and say, well, what about black on black crime? And so, I sit and think for a minute, and I'm thinking like, well, I said, man, okay, is this like a rebuttal to deter the conversation that we're trying to have, or should we really look at that black on black crime? And in the words of Dick Gregory, he said people kill where they're at, where they're from, right?
that's right.
And I completely understand. And so my question is, if people kill where they're from, and we're specifically talking about, and let me add this disclaimer to the people here. Um, I know a lot of people will say, well, what about white on white crime and all that? It's not that I'm overlooking any of that, but I want people to understand that there is a serious matter in the black communities, in the lower income black communities, that seem to be looked over, just in my opinion, in my eyes. And I want to cater to that first, not only because we're a minority, to this situation, but it's just something that I've always wanted to tackle. Coming from Tullahoma, pretty much and 90%, 95% white. we had 12 black graduates when I graduated, and then poof, like night and day, I went to a HBCU, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Shout out to the Golden Line, established in
Right.
1872 already. You know what I'm saying? And so it was a culture shock for me, you know what I'm saying, Walter? And it really made me want to dig in more into our culture and learn more about me, learn more about our school's history and how it
Mhm.
came about, especially in 1872, like Reconstruction area, post slavery. It's like, how did y'all build this university like that, and amongst others? But their conversation, when they say black on black crime first, and I know you've heard it as a rebuttal. I want to know how you feel, and when people say that to you as a rebuttal to police brutality.
You know, um, and what a way to set up the question. I, I have to say this. I wish that I knew better when I graduated high school to know the importance of a historically black college or university because I didn't attend one, and it was purely out of ignorance, man. I mean, I had a great community, a great surrounding, but I at the time when I graduated high school, our parents wanted the best for us. They wanted us to do more and go further, and I think we were really trying. So hats off to you, man, for going to a HBCU, and I hope that's the new vogue for Black people. Um, it's very important for the quality of your education and the meaning behind your education to be something that was designed for you, and I'll leave
Mm,
that at that. But when it comes to crime, crime, it's in and of itself. If you look at the definition of the word crime, it's as a noun, it's an action or an omission that constitutes an offense that may be prosecuted by the state and is punishable by law. So it's
mm,
an action or an omission. An omission is not acting that constitutes an offense to someone or to the state that may be prosecuted by the state and is punishable by law. Um, so crime is in my perspective, and really for most of your sociologists and whatnot that study the statistics, crime is a symptom of a problem, a bigger problem. In our community, I think the biggest problem in our community is poverty, but the
mm.
inability to communicate trumps poverty. You spoke about Arkansas Pine Bluff. What year did you say Arkansas Pine Bluff was established?
1872.
1872.
Yeah.
7 years after the end of slave. Well, 7 years depending on where you were after the end of slavery,
Right.
and we were poor people. You know, we've heard the statistics in the conversation about poverty breeding crime, which I don't disagree with, but we were poor people then. I would like to see what the crime statistics were for Black people in this trope that we call Black on Black crime in
Mm,
1872 or in
mm,
1900.
mm.
Crime is always, I mean, there's always been crime,
Right.
but it would be interesting because, see, during that time period, our people didn't have anything. Our people were not educated. Our people, the illiteracy rate was over 80%,
Mm,
and that quickly turned around. I think poverty does breed social ills, but crime in and of itself in the Black community is taking on different faces. I think a lot of times people are not able to or not willing to communicate with each other.
mm.
There's a huge component, like right now, and it has been for a while in certain cities. If you're not from that city, or if you're not familiar with the people there, or they don't know who you are,
Right.
you're automatically looked at as, somebody who may be there to harm the community or take from the community, or an opponent, as opposed to just another brother walking down the street trying to make his day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, this is a really multi-layered onion, and each peel that we peel is going to make us cry a little bit harder.
Mm.
But crime in and of itself is something that's instituted because
And
it's
it's
changed over the years. From, say, post Reconstruction, crime was one thing. During the time of Reconstruction, crime changed, and after Reconstruction, during the Jim Crow era, crime really changed. You know,
mm.
so if we look at it as a whole, what we see today is the symptom of things from days gone past.
So let me ask you this real quick. So I don't mean to stop you, or whatever, but
No, you're
I'm, I'm
good.
yeah, I'm gonna bring that back a little bit because I felt that there might be a point that needs to be brought across here because you were asking, you wonder what the crime rate was post
Hmm.
slavery, because you said poverty
Breeds crime.
breeds crime. So
Hmm.
being that Black people didn't have much post slavery compared to where we're at now in 2020, 2021, right?
Hmm.
Would you say that there was some type of Okay, I'm just gonna say it like this. I'm just gonna say it. I feel like in during that 1872 time when my school was built, um, I would like to say that the powers that be or the government hadn't quite caught up on how to regulate progression with the former slaves compared to over 100 and something years later,
Hmm.
having all of this from the Jim Crow to desegregation, all of that stuff up until now. And we already know the crime rate has shot up through the roof, and of
Has
course,
it?
that's what they say.
We're gonna talk about that tonight.
Yeah, because when we say crime, right? All right, they're saying what? You remember that? What was that thing we were watching? It was on Netflix, and they were saying that we had 5% of the world's population, and
Who
25
does?
America,
Okay, okay.
5% of the world's population, but 25% of incarceration.
Hmm.
Okay, would you say? And I ask you this question: would you say that this is an obvious question, but would you say that compared to 1872 and 2021, there was some type of algorithm put in place to be in the situation that we are in now when we speak on black crime?
You know, this the term is social engineering, and don't think for 1 minute that this government, this country would release millions of skilled laborers who were slaves
Mm.
into the country to now compete with not only the slave owners but the children and descendants of the slave owners on a legal playing field.
Mm.
Think about
Mm.
that for a second. All of your skilled labor at the time slavery ended was the slaves.
Right.
All of your skilled labor. That's what gave roots to a Black Wall Street and Winston-Salem and other places like that. These people, uh, a lot of, it wasn't a question for them what they were going to do. They were going to go and build their own. They were going to go and develop their own. And in many cases, I heard Dr. Greg Carr talking about that on a video, and he was talking about the government hunted down the ex-slave or owners to
Mm.
give them reparations and their children,
Mm.
to give them money,
The slave owners.
the slave owners after slavery. This is historical fact.
So
Not only
basically, yeah.
that, not only that, but what he called spectators from the North
Hmm.
that would come down to the South and position themselves to buy up all of this land, then turned around and, you know, these ex-slaves didn't have, all they had was their skill, but turned around and created a state of indentured servitude. And um, I forget the term I'm looking for, but basically, it's slavery by another name. Because
So
black people at this time didn't have the right to own certain things. They didn't have the right to buy and do things of this. So you're looking at the re-enslavement of people through policies, governmental policies.
mm,
So this was a design. This what we're seeing today was designed to be this way. The
mm,
United States and United States has in many times made laws specifically aimed at black people, aimed
mm,
at things that black people could not do to make them criminals. There's a series, a documentary series in a book written called Slavery by Another Name,
mm,
and it showed how through after Reconstruction, when the troops were pulled out of the South and Jim Crow began, they created the black codes and black laws
mm.
to make black people criminals. They created laws specifically aimed at black people, like the vagrancy laws and those things that would give them and deem them criminals to put them in prison. Because we know if you're in prison, you have no rights. That's legalized slavery.
That's slavery. So you would say, I said, they said like this. I'm just going to throw up an example. Um, I would interpret that as in petty crimes.
Yeah.
so to speak, I don't know, soliciting or something,
Yeah,
or
man,
or
there were
what's this?
crime, there were laws against people not having a job, man. That you could be imprisoned for not having a job.
Mm,
You could not laugh out loud.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, they had laughing barrels. You
Yes,
could,
that's right. They would stick
yeah,
their heads in there and laugh.
stick your head in the laugh. I mean, there were a lot of just ridiculous, crazy. Some of those laws were on the books and removed not very long ago in some of
Mm,
these southern states. And it wasn't just the South, some of the northern states as well. But
mm,
the inability for black people to own land, to own firearms, because no matter how much land you have, especially in those days and in some cases now, if you don't have the ability to protect what's
mm,
yours, it'll be taken from you. So if you change the laws where black people can't own guns, and then you create something called like the Klan, the KKK, and which was a layover from slave catchers,
mhm,
you create the Klan as an auxiliary to the police or militia, and they got guns. They can come and
mm,
do what they want to you. They can force you off your land, as
mm.
happened many times. They could take things from you. So I mean, this was, like I said, this is a design. This is played out. This system was designed to work exactly the way it's working now, and it's played to a T. There's no way that you can look back at how the laws were changed,
Mhm.
and look at how history um, records itself and not see that. It's obvious.
Why do you think? Why do you think even today? Um, why do you think that people they would always say this thing? Because I used to go back and forth. If I recall, just to reference back when I was in Winchester. This was during the Board of Education kind of like trial, I guess they were having to figure out if they were going to take away the mascot, and I was
Hmm.
surrounded by all these, rebel flag supporters and stuff like that, even their children. You know what I mean? And uh, I don't know. I feel like I was being ganged on a little bit, but I mean, I
You
kept my
were.
cool and never yet. you
I saw
know,
that video, man. I wish I could have been there.
yeah, I
I
wish so
really
too.
do.
And see, the thing is like, why do you feel that people choose to ignore what's really what? Because they'll always say, well, slavery was the past. Why do you keep going back to slavery? Why does everything have to go back to slavery? You guys didn't go through it. You didn't do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do you feel that they always rebuttal with that particular uh, statement? And I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it pisses me off a little bit, to be honest, because it's like, well, okay. When I was speaking to them about the rebel flag, I said, well, if they say it's heritage and not hate, but in my eyes, I felt like that heritage was based off of hate. And so why do you continue to carry on your history and we can't carry on ours? I even
Well, I
believe,
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, when we talked about that before, and we pulled up William Tappan Thomas and
Hmm.
what his quotes was, his reason for creating the rebel flag. Do you think that the people, that fly their flag, do you think they have YouTube? Do you think they have Google?
The people that fly that flag.
Yeah,
Oh, of
you
course.
think that
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
access to Google, so they can
Yeah.
they can look that up just like we did. Because when your
Correct.
producer pulled it up, it's there plain as day. So
Right.
the whole thing about heritage and not hate. Do you see any modern day Germans flying the swastika flag? You don't, because they outlawed it, and it's a punishable offense. It's real interesting that America didn't outlaw the Confederate battle flag, but that's another conversation.
Yeah.
But the people who fly that flag and claim it's a part of their heritage, they know exactly what it is, man. We're not fools. We're not stupid. I mean, we're not the only people that have access to that actual factual information. And those people, they honestly, I think some people haven't thought about it. I can concede that some people haven't thought about it, but it's not very hard to look that up. But for the most part, racism and white supremacy is learned behavior. It's taught, and it's taught for a reason,
Mm.
because some people. Oh,
I'll go ahead. No, okay. So I'm gonna stop right there because now I'm only answering this question because these questions have been asked to me. When I
Okay,
said that before, it's like I think everybody has been in agreement to saying that racism is taught. Okay.
absolutely.
Now you have some people where racism wasn't taught.
Hmm.
They're just be some cool people. Those are the people that would say,
Name
"Well,
them.
okay, all right, look. I don't want to call nobody out, but I'm just
Look,
saying they would
look,
say
man.
this. They would say
Oh,
this. Look,
okay, go ahead.
they would say I don't see. Their rebuttal is I don't see color. Right? Okay. So why do you think they say that? And why is
Because they're
that word?
lying.
Okay. Okay.
Because they're
Because
liars.
okay. All right. There you go. All right. All right. All right. All right. So
Look,
why?
man. Let's be real. Let's be
Mhm.
real. When you out and about and you see somebody, what's the first thing you notice about them?
Yeah, their skin color.
So if you want to take the word of somebody who's going to lie on their own eyes, come on,
Mm,
man.
I know.
Let's be real. Racism is learned. Selfishness is human.
Mm,
You put two kids in a room and put one cookie on the table. 9 times out of 10, that little kid is going to grab that cookie for himself. He
mm-hmm,
has to be taught how to share and taught the joy that sharing gives to him.
mm,
Racism is about power.
mm,
Racism and white supremacy is about power. And the people that would say they don't see color and they wasn't raised around racism, it won't take very long just observing the society we live in. This system was set up and structured for white supremacy. That's
mm,
what I mean. All of the forefathers and whatnot that they had slaves, they were their goal was setting up a nation for white men. That's
mm.
just what it is. And it was never designed to share. So the whole idea that, well, I wasn't raised around racism. Really?
I
You
hear that
went
a
to
lot.
an all white school. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
man.
No, that is
It's,
what it
it's,
is.
it's silly. It's silly. It's just ridiculous. I mean, there's not a kid that's 12 years old. There's not a kid that's 10 years old that don't know what slavery is. So
Mm,
nobody, there's none of us none of us who could even make a conscious conversation about any of this. A conversation that's worth listening to could say, well, I just wasn't raised around slavery. I wasn't raised around white supremacy and racism.
mm, mm.
You know, none of them. I don't care how much money you have. None of them would trade places with any of us, ever.
I feel you on that because I've had
Come on.
yeah, and we'll get into that second half of it. I'm just trying to kind of recap of what we talked about before
Sure.
because I definitely want to get into um
I
more of
would
what's
love to have a conversation with those people that don't see color
and
and
I wish they
wasn't
would
raised.
come on like
I would, man.
they never come on. They always they type up in the comments all the time or they'll hit me up in the inbox and be like, Royce, I said, well, dang, you could have had your opportunity right there.
Yeah.
Like,
I
mm,
and not to be combative or to be I just would love to just talk about your experience and talk about what you see this whole thing is about and what you think about black people and people of color. I hate using people of color, but black people
mhm,
who have lived this life. What do you really think about the complaints you hear from black people? Do you think it's
mm,
founded? Do you think it's just ridiculous? Do you think that even in today's age with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and everything we've seen, do you still think that way? I mean, really,
mm.
do you really still think that way? I'd love to have that conversation.
Yeah, and I've had that, I've had that brought to me too. I hear the term, everybody has the same pick yourself up by the bootstraps. Hear that all the time,
Hmm.
or if you
So
stop
you mean
being
a man with no
lazy.
feet?
Yeah, you're right. Now I had somebody specifically here from Tullahoma, and I swear he'd be trolling me. He'd be trolling me, and he knows who he is. I'm just not gonna call that person out because this is not what it's about. I'm not gonna do that
Mm,
with you, but he knows, and a lot of other people know too. He would be up in my inbox, and he would say, you know, uh, if everybody just, he would talk about this. Is what he would say. He would say, you know, he said black people need to stop being lazy, get a job, take care of your families, stop being baby daddies, um, a bunch of that stuff. You know, I mean, he said it with a little, you know, a little pep in the step with that. You know, and so let me ask you this question. It's kind of like a segue or whatever before we go into that half, but is what he's saying true?
You know, I'll say this. It became the battle cry about how lazy black people were when we stopped working for free, and when we stopped raising other people's children, and when we stopped being bed warmers and wet nurses, and when we started saying, "Wait a minute, I created this, but I'm not making the money," or when we started talking about Henrietta Lacks and how they've used her genes and her cells to make billions of dollars for another family. That black people have their issues. And like I said, it was designed to be this way. Now, we're not completely innocent in that, because we do have to move on. But we don't have to ignore what's, you know, you don't cut off your nose to spite your face, man. We're in this condition for a reason. That doesn't mean we have to stay here. We just have to realize that we are the way out of it. And if America as a whole was going to do anything for us, they'd have done it by now. That's not coming. But would you help somebody who's not trying to help themselves? There are other communities and other groups within America that are non-white, so to speak, that they don't have our history. You can ask anybody of any of these other groups, or even white people, where are your people from? What's your lineage? They know that. Their culture's intact. Yeah. Their culture's intact.
As a matter of fact, I'm bad. I don't mean to cut you off, man. Because you beat these little points here. First, you know, shout out to Mass Media, Lise Winnie. Shout out to Donna Smith. What's up? Thank y'all for commenting, man. Y'all make sure you please share. I'm gonna ask that question real quick before I ask you this question.
Okay.
She said, did you watch the new movie Judas and the Black Messiah? Did they keep most of the story 100 in your opinion? Have you seen that yet?
I have not seen it yet. Okay. I'm looking. I love Fred Hampton's what he did for the time period, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been noticing a strange phenomenon with Black history movies here lately. They're always actors and actresses that are not from America, that don't have the connection to the characters that we do. And I've been noticing that. Now, that hasn't really kept me from watching the movie, because I do like the actors that are in it. But it's just very interesting to me. I mean, little things like that mean something. It says something to me. Now, I do plan to watch that movie since everybody's stuck in the house for the next couple of days. That and American Skin is another one that I've been getting blown up about. And I haven't seen it. I've been kind of busy, but me and my wife and the kids have made it, you know, we're going to watch that.
That's good.
But I would like to discuss it once I've seen it and kind of analyze it a bit.
Yeah, that'll be dope, man. That might be one of them side things in between the big shows. So, being with that said, we're gonna take our first commercial break, and we're gonna tap into, you know, the beef of what I really wanted to speak about. All right. So everybody that's watching, y'all continue to share. Just wait for a minute to go get you something to drink. We're about to tap on. Go ahead.
And please reach out to some of the people that don't see color, and some of the people that didn't grow up around racism and white supremacy, because I think that perspective, especially with the onslaught of this whole Karen phenomenon, that perspective would be interesting for this conversation.
Exactly. So y'all hear that? I want somebody to tap in on that. All right. So we're gonna be right back. Y'all continue to share it. Be back in about a minute and a half or so. All right. Let's go.
James butter is really good on your hair. My favorite has got to be the peppermint mist leave-in conditioner. It's so soothing to your scalp. I've had dry, itchy scalp, and I tell you, it's amazing.
My favorite product with Jay's butter is the natural flaxseed elixir, especially on the hair that's not mine.
Y'all know what? I really love Jay's butter. I love Jay's butter.
What up, everybody? It's your boy, Royce the Voice, and I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Kevin Lambert, aka the Cell Phone Guy. Now has a new website at www.tncellphoneguy.com. He will turn your phone from hell to heaven. He's open 24/7. He'll have your phone done in about 30 to 45 minutes, an hour at the most. There's no other guy that I would rather call locally is Kevin Lambert. So y'all make sure y'all check him out, all right? He will turn your phone from hell to heaven. www.tncellphoneguy.com.
G Street Quick Draw Gun Magnet. Unlike the competitor who imitated and sell similar products with more expensive prices, G Street Gun Magnet Mount is specially designed and engineered to provide you the safest and most convenient experience.
Do you want to access your guns quickly in case of emergency? Do you feel safe in your car and at home? Do you want to be able to hold your guns for any different situation? After our research, we have redefined our gun magnet mount for the market to solve any complaints from gun fans. We have designed and redesigned our magnet mount, which is made from premium, eco-friendly material, excellent craft, unique appearance with quick draw and quick load functions, and hold flat surface firearms safely and secure.
Order your G Street Quick Draw Gun Magnet today with free delivery at gstreetedc.square.site.
Look, I suggest that you fall in line and show me my respect. I'm the best. None of y'all a threat. This is not a test. I'm upset. Come around here, I'll make you stand on all your threats.
All right. What's up? It's your boy, Royce the Voice, Orange Click, Orange Leader. Shout out to K-Team. Speak your thoughts or lose your mind. And welcome back, everybody. I'm glad you guys are still tuned in. Let me give a shout out to Maps Media, to Donna Smith, and everybody else that's watching right now. I just see y'all just watching. That's cool. That means that y'all learning a little something, okay? So, if y'all continue to share, first shout out to Jay's Butter. Shout out to the Cell Phone Guy. Shout out to, Nino Black, man, and G Street Accessories, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all want to make sure that y'all have something for what you pack, and you don't want to get caught slipping like my boy Kevin Hart said. You want to make sure you have those G Street Accessories in the laundry room, in the kitchen, in the car, everywhere. Shout out to Millennials. You did. Shout out to Mass Media. Thank you for tuning in and all that. And I think we got a Hinky there in the green room. I think you had to reconnect again. I would like everybody also, please, to share this so you can have a little chance, a little chickadee chance, you feel me, for the Plantation Ponderosa with Herschel Williams, Dr. Anatomy, man. We try to get at least 50 shares every time we come on, from Royce's Rant to Dr. Anatomy and the Prescription, and to Nino Black and Black Thoughts. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys, don't feel like cooking for yourselves, you want to bring a little date or two over, I think Nino, you know what I'm saying, is bringing his bringing his queens over. You know what I'm saying? In about a week or so, they're gonna come through. Had the food cooked. I don't know if they can ride some horses. It's gonna be kind of cold, but they're gonna be chilling out there, man. And shout out to LaWanda, who actually was the first one of our first winners for that. All right, so y'all click that share button, y'all share this around, man. We're gonna learn you something a little bit. You dig? And let's go on and bring our guest back in here, Mr. Walter Hamliton in the building.
What's up, man? What's up?
All right, man. Welcome back, man. Okay, you sound good and clear now, man. We got you in now.
I popped off for a quick second.
Yeah. Now, without spoiling the movie, I was saying that to answer Lisa's question, yeah, I did see the movie. You know what I'm saying? It was a great film. When I'm looking at it from a film perspective, I think it was produced by Ryan Coogler, if I'm not mistaken. But I kind of agree with Hinky too. Sometimes I'm a little apprehensive about how they use the history and who they use to research that particular history. But, I got a lot of faith in Ryan Coogler, man. He's always, if it was between him and Ava DuVernay, and me and my producer talk about this a lot, I would rather pick Ryan Coogler, because it's almost like he puts this uncomfortable blackness in your face. Like, he'll make it hurt. It's almost to the point where I'm like, oh man, I can't even watch this. But it's the truth though, and I did discover there were a lot of people that didn't know much about, Fred Hampton
Yeah.
or whatever. And it was good to see people researching that. And at the end of the movie, they actually reference a documentary. It's a part two, Eyes on the Prize. It was like part two of that situation where the Judas pretty much just confessed to everything they did, and it's like, well, yeah, that definitely happens. The FBI definitely infiltrated. J. Edgar Hoover was a real beast, in that civil rights movement, all the way back to Marcus Garvey, because J. Edgar Hoover started his little reign right around the late 20s and stuff, early
Hey,
30s.
I got to cut in.
Yeah.
What allowed J. Edgar Hoover to do what he did? What allowed him?
Is it going to be a movie
The
reference?
president.
With Joe Wilson. Yes.
And also, I mean, think about it. J. Edgar Hoover had tabs on MLK forever.
Yeah.
And in those days, it had to be cleared. So by the president. So the presidents during that time period, the other one was Kennedy.
Yep, Kennedy, Eisenhower, definitely
So
Kennedy.
J. Edgar Hoover could have never done what he did. He could have never had that insight on people that he had if it was not for the president.
That's true.
And the government.
Yeah,
so let's not get it twisted. Yeah. I mean, when the King family took the government, the federal government, to court, the King family won the court case in 1990. Right? 1990, I think it was.
90? Okay.
Yeah, it was a 99 or 90.
I want to say 99. I'm not trying to say you're wrong, but
yeah,
I do remember.
You may be right. You may be right. But they won a federal case that determined who was responsible for King's death.
And they swept that under the rug quick.
Absolutely. But people, go look it up. Don't take my word for nothing. Go look it up for yourself.
Definitely.
I'm glad that you bring me on to talk about history, because history is important to me. And when my father helped me to understand how history is your roadmap, it's as important as knowing your lineage and getting a DNA test to know who you are, who your people are, what their customs were, what languages they spoke, what their belief systems were. So that can show you how you got to where you are. But most importantly, it should propel you to where you're going. Exactly. So a lot of those people we talked about before that will wave the Confederate battle flag and say that they're patriots. But the Confederate battle flag was a representation of people who were not patriotic. They seceded from the government. They fought against the government to own slaves.
True. And I think, I'll put that up on the screen. Oh my God. Yeah. Yep. It said King versus Jowers, November 1999 trial.
Yeah, it was 99. That's right.
A wrongful death civil action filed by Dr. Pepper on behalf of Dr. King's wife and children.
And the details of that case is what's most important. It's a hard read for most people, but dig into there's a couple of there's a documentary and there's some videos on YouTube where they go into the details of that case and what was revealed.
Even the domino effect of death to his brother drowning in the pool.
Yep.
Like, just really?
They've been looking at the King family for a long time.
Since his father, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Martin Luther King's birth name was not Martin Luther King. It was changed. He changed his name. That's another. Go look it up, family. That's a whole other conversation, but go look it up. But they've been looking at the King family for a long time. His father first, and they just dig into it.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. So let's get into the beat of the topic, man. I know there's crime everywhere,
but
what do you think is the epidemic of black crime in our neighborhoods? What do you think that's causing that? And that might be an easy answer, but I feel like that you can really dig into that as far as why we are in the condition that we're in our lower income black communities, in our hoods and in our projects. I know it might be self-explanatory, but I would like you to elaborate on that based off the knowledge you know and your discernment.
And you were digging into it. You were headed in the right direction. Like I said before, it's social engineering. We've been socially engineered to be this way, to do these things. Um, Dr. Amos Wilson is somebody whose work I really admire, and is very just poignant for this conversation, because as a sociologist and psychologist in a way, um, his perspectives in 1990 still ring so true for today. Crime is crime, no matter what no matter what group of people you're around.
Mm-hmm.
There's white on white crime, there's Asian on Asian crime, or wherever. I think the black on black crime as a trope, and that's what it is. It has its earliest usages in 1968. I think that was the first time they used the term black on black crime. And if you know anything about history, what happened in 1968?
The war
King
on
was
drugs.
killed. King was killed. Bobby Kennedy was killed. It just, as soon as the civil rights movement got its biggest push, because after King was killed, then you had the Civil Rights Bill pushed into action, right? But
Mm-hmm.
right along with that was this look at black on black crime. And a few years after that, this whole thing about the drug war. But black on black crime is a misnomer, man. Crime is crime, and people kill where they live. People commit crimes to each other. But like I said before, it's a symptom of poverty. You take a group of people and you take from them their means to make a living, to support a family, to protect themselves, to eat, and you'll create crime. If you look at the crime statistics in the black community and just pair that with the breakdown in marriage and families, pair that with the defunding of school programs, pair that with the defunding of community-oriented facilities and whatnot, and you'll see a direct correlation with crime.
And that, to me, okay, so good. So this is almost like common sense to me, to those who say these things, because poverty. When I'll just look at Tullahoma, okay, because this is what I'm kind of really sensitive about.
Mm-hmm.
Over there in the Kings Ridge area in Tullahoma.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about that, when you're saying, the schools, the programs, certain things that are available, even on that side of the fence, so to speak, you have some gated communities, or I won't say gated, but they're presented like a breath of fresh air.
Sure.
Right. And, they always say cleanliness is next to godliness. If you have a clean area, if you have a clean environment, like, your mind is clean, your mind is more organized. You almost feel it boosts morale. You almost feel like doing something good, for the day or whatnot, just based on your environment. And before I do that, oh my God, he said, it's social engineering. It said social engineering through a conscious decision by a few powerful people and bleed through the system, or is it a byproduct of majority privilege, or both? And if us minorities became the majority, would it take us a while before we do the same act? What do you say about that?
You know what? Look at Black Wall Street. Just look at it. You're talking about the 1920s, 50 years after slavery, and you had the most prosperous district money-making apparatus almost in the entire country, full of not only Black successful businesses, but Black lawyers and Black grocery stores and Black barbers and Black milkmen and the whole deal. Wonder what the crime rate was there. See, people commit crime when they don't have economic interests, or they don't have the opportunities economically.
All
And
right.
now, one thing you said, and that was a great question by the brother too. One thing
Mm-hmm.
that you said was about, say, Kings Ridge and Terrace Estates and the other more affluent areas of town.
Yeah.
You said maybe if the land and the grounds and the neighborhood's clean, then it'll clean your mind. How about what if your mind is clean and cleared?
Mm.
Then you'll clean up your neighborhood.
Mm.
Now, we all know black neighborhoods that were not affluent, but people took pride in what they had and loved and cared about things, and they picked up and they cleaned up and whatnot. But
Mm.
a lot of those things changed as the civil rights movement happened, and um, from the late '60s going into the early '70s when I was born, and the neighborhoods changing. And then when they flooded our communities with drugs, it all went to hell. But they
Mm.
never talked about the people from those nicer, affluent neighborhoods who got popped buying drugs and on the south side of Tullahoma. You don't
Mm-hmm.
hear those conversations. Or the
Sure.
people who, you know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
who would come to that area from other areas and other towns, they would come to that area to do their dirt. When you got, you know, say in the '70s,
Mm-hmm.
you had vocational programs in schools to where a young kid could graduate high school and he would be a licensed plumber.
Mm.
He'd be an electrician
Mm-hmm.
or auto mechanics, auto body. Those are the backbones of our society. Those people could run a household, could have a family, could afford it to take care of a family with their learned skilled labor.
Mm.
And then you start seeing them defund all these things and moving the employable people who are able to be employed. You start seeing them kind of playing around with defunding areas and companies moving here and there, moving out of places where people don't have an opportunity to work anymore.
Mm.
You got uh, all the vocations coming out of the schools, the
Yeah.
school curriculum changing. You know, most affluent households, they're going to be on top of those things, and some of the lesser affluents, and that's not just a black thing, that's an economic thing, because there's always, like, Tullahoma's what, 4% black. So if they take the vocations out of the schools, then there's a lot of white kids that's affected by that as well.
Yeah. True
you
that.
know so that, crime, like I said, crime is crime, and it's a symptom of bad economics.
So what do we do to when you were speaking on? Let me read what Barry said. I think it kind of coincides with what you were saying. He said those areas. He said those areas. Those areas on the east side, like Macon Manor, also have HOAs that enforce clean neighborhoods, force people to cut the grass, keep their yards clean, dictate stuff like what color their shingles can be. So it is the people who live in those neighborhoods that make sure their neighborhood is clean.
Sure. How old is Daniel?
I think he just turned 40 last
Just
couple
turned
weeks
40.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah, his
Because see,
first
I
birthday.
remember when other areas of, like, the area we're talking about, the south side of Tullahoma. I remember when it was a cleaner area.
Hmm.
I remember when people's grass was cut. I remember when it was safe, when people were respectful and mannerable, and it had nothing to do with HOAs. I get what he's saying.
Yeah,
I mean, that is a thing, and that's a topic for another conversation, because
yeah.
HOAs came into existence for a particular reason,
Mm.
and it was to preserve the value of homes and houses, and it was also designed to keep undesirables out of those neighborhoods.
Mm.
But
Mm.
anyway, I remember when the South Side was not just, when people had the respect that it deserved, and people took care of things, and people looked out for each other. And I remember as a child, man, we would come across town to Davidson Academy for the summer program, and all the way back home, there was somebody's yard that had apples in it that we grab an apple to eat, or we could run into somebody's house and get a drink of water, use the bathroom, or I remember uh, some of the older people of the community. Ain't you Donna Ray's boy? Ain't you Walter and Donna's boy? And Miss Nainava and them? You know better than to do what we had those things, but the social engineering of our day was the drug issue, and that's what helped to destroy, you know, the neighborhoods as well.
Got you. So, okay, being that that said, it's another obvious question. Question probably get an obvious answer, but
Yeah, I don't want to stray too much away from the topic of crime because there's a lot of things I like to talk about
yeah,
there
yeah,
too.
because what you were saying before about once again, I'm just gonna say this is just from me learning throughout the years from being here in Tullahoma. There have been certain people. I say it like this: when it comes to crime in Tullahoma, if we're just talking white and black here, there are some white people that have been popped before, but for some reason, comparing it to the blacks that have been popped, the white ones that have been popped seem to it's either a slap on the wrist. They go in for a certain amount of time, and they come right back out. They go in again, they come right back out, but they continue to have like the same job. Like they go right
Hmm.
back to the job, go right back to the same position that they have. This is a true fact with me just witnessing this, just off of one person. From years or whatnot.
Hmm.
Always, and I always notice this person, and I don't want to conspirize, but the proof is in the pudding. This person would always have pictures of certain brothers that have been back and forth in jail. With the call thing and stuff like that, when they call
Hmm.
and they have the little pip screen and the snapshots and stuff you can take.
Yeah.
All different types of brothers, black men and stuff, but it's that same one white person always giving them a call. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like all of a sudden that person goes right back in and it comes right back out, have the same position at their job, and
Yeah.
then be going on for a few months, taking more snapshots with other guys that are in jail. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm like, aren't y'all seeing like a pattern here? Like, why does this person always seem to be, they always take pictures with it's just weird. It's just
With all
weird.
the
And it makes me
thugs.
think sometimes, yeah, well, all taking the pictures of all the thugs that are in jail, right?
Yeah.
Different ones, and the thugs they just in there smiling with, and I'm thinking, can y'all see a pattern? It's one person always taking pictures with y'all, and y'all are always the ones that are in jail, and this person's always not. And this
Dude,
makes me
that's something that's nationwide though, man. I
true
mean,
that.
like I said, this is a design. It's designed this way.
Hmm,
Um, there when I got out of college, I remember coming back to Tullahoma and I'm competing um, for jobs with people who just got out of jail.
hmm,
And I just, got out of college. And I remember not getting jobs to people who just got out of jail.
hmm.
And that was one of the bigger reasons why I left Oklahoma. I was like, well, I see what it is, and I see
Yeah,
what it ain't. It is what it is. It ain't what it ain't. It can't be both. So it's time for me to move on. But when I moved to another city and got to know, I see the same thing. This is a system. It's designed for people to be able to move and shake.
hmm,
And just in my own personal view, you know, that's not going to change as long as you depend on somebody else to cross your T's and dot your I's for you. It's just not. Then it's too much money. Black people as a whole have not been producers. We've
hmm.
not set up and created industries. True enough, we've got a lot of barriers and we've got everything in the world stacked against us. But
Yeah,
every week we make Apple a lot of money. Every week we make Walmart a lot of money and McDonald's and all these other companies and stuff. Um, I patronize black owned businesses even when I get bad service because I know, for one, as a business owner myself, I know how hard it is to not have any backing, to not come from a family that you were taught these things and not have access to the capital. So I get it. Um, and I support, even people I don't know, but they walked my lifestyle, they walked my struggle. So I support them just because. And I think, we talk about crime and we talk about the impetus of crime. We have to learn how to support our own. Right now in Murfreesboro, where I live,
hmm,
there's several small black-owned businesses. Most of them are eateries because that's what we know. We know that right now.
yeah,
and I support all of them. I make
Shout
sure
out,
I take my family to them.
shout out to Bubba Gandy Shrimp, Seafood,
Okay,
Marcellus out
okay.
there. Yeah,
I'll be hitting him soon.
right off Memorial.
Yeah, and honeybees and there's a new one that just opened up right on Main, right by the campus, around the corner from Domino's. I forget the name. I'll get the name of it, but Jeff's over in the hood there. Jeff's been there for many years. We have to learn that for right now, this is our industries that we support, because if we don't support them, someone else will come in and move in and take those spaces. But we have to have an economic floor somewhere.
How do we change? I'm sorry.
Oh, they're fine.
So we were speaking on the mentality, based on the with the environment or whatever. Because I was saying, okay, we changed the environment, it might change the mind. And you came back and said, okay, change the mind to change the environment. And so my question would be, how do we change the minds in our Black communities, our lower income communities, to care more about their environment? Where would who would you start with? What is it that in your mind you feel that can be done to reverse that mental state that we're in?
Well, I really think that as people, I mean, our people have been hurt and broke down and for so long that it's hard to see your way out. But I really think that if you stop looking at yourself and start looking at what you're going to leave here, the thing that made me change my mind about a lot of things is the fact that I have children, and I hope to be a grandfather, and I hope to have a legacy to leave to grandchildren that I'll never get to know, but they'll know the fruits of my labor. And the fruits of my labor is building a community. So if I can't build a community, starting with my family, am I really able to leave something that's going to make it better? And I think if Black people as a whole, if we stop thinking that, I hear people say YOLO, you only live once, and that's stupid. You live every day. You only die once.
True.
So you got to protect yourself, so that one time that you do die, it was for a reason. It was meant something. It was preceded by a whole bunch of things that made sense. And those things that make sense to me is realizing what I do affects everybody else. So as individuals, we have to change our mindset. We've been in this get mine mentality for a long time, and it ain't served us. It's not going to, because that's not what humanity is about. Not all Black people are positive thinking, loving, good-hearted people, and not all white people are mean, hateful, and racist. That's just not it. There's humanity. That what we're trying to achieve is humanity. We have to deal. We have.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, we have to deal with selfish-minded, hateful people, and we have to deal with that. And as a group, Black people may have to deal with that. But it starts at the person individually. I got to realize that what I do affects other people. And if I'm not really about building a community in a sense, then what am I really doing? Move to the moon, go do that.
Shout out to Donna Smith. She said, start competing and start supporting each other. Maps Media, she said, it's the mindset. You have to change
That's
the
right.
mindset first, then you can talk about the change. So
I love it.
And I want to, okay, so now let's micro it a little bit then, because I want to talk about Tullahoma, because that's what I'm kind of giddy about as far as what could be done to change that mentality. I feel personally that there is a lack thereof of seminars. Not saying that we can't do anything like that, but I've just now realized myself that, and this is just to be honest, this has nothing to do with you're white or anything like that, but I just started to learn to accept people of who they are and how they move about their life. The majority of people here in Tullahoma are white. And I must be honest, they're pretty much minding their own business. They're minding their own business. They're living their life. I'm not going to sit there and accuse them for purposely not paying attention, but I can't say that subconsciously, it really doesn't cross their mind. And therefore, it leaves people like you and me and others around here that
Right.
need to be innovative and come up with something that's going to help our youth. Because, like your guy said, you sent me a reference, Dr. Amos Wilson, and he said the problem isn't the youth.
No,
He said the problem were our adults, our parents.
that's right.
How do you side with that? Can you elaborate? What he was saying on
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. The problem is not the youth. The youth are dealing with the world that we gave them.
Mm.
To kind of paraphrase Dr. Amos Wilson,
Yeah.
they're only dealing with the parameters that we, and I'm 49 years old, so I have to take my part in that, just like I take my part in the solution. But
Right.
we've left a messed up world for our youth to deal with. And they're going to deal with it the best way they can.
Mm.
And sometimes it's not going to be for the betterment because they haven't been taught that. If I've not produced and created a way for the ones that come after me, not just the ones in my house, but in my community, to make a living, to continue to eat, to be productive, to be a good father, to be a good mother, to be a good married couple and raise good families, then they're going to have to turn to whatever way they can to make their money, to get paid, and to eat. And if it means taking the life of somebody else, they'll do it. All of us would, to protect our own, to continue to eat and survive. That's the first, self-preservation is the first law of, the self-preservation is what we live by. So it has to come from the adults. Now there's young adults and there's, those that are older like myself. And then there's people like my mother. My mother's 81. And it has to be a combined effort from all of us who are adults to create a better place and show a better way for these kids. Because if not, what we say is the streets going to get them. Yeah, the streets and the society that we live in that's already sick, that's already, created for us to fail, will have its day with them. That's why I say you have to change your mind. You have to start thinking about your community, start thinking about your legacy. None of this other crazy stuff is going to bring you a legacy. It really isn't. What will bring you a legacy is teaching your children how to eat right, how to get some sleep, the importance of educating yourself. Not that everybody's going to be a scholar or everybody's going to have a doctorate, but educating yourself so you know how to move in this world. Our problem right now, like the young kids that get into the streets and they get into drugs and whatnot, they're looking for ways to make money.
True that.
Let's be real. And there are many ways that we can teach our young people on how to make a good living that don't involve the madness of the streets and doesn't involve not loving and caring about your people. If you can't love and care about your people, you won't love and care about this world. I don't care who you are.
Glad you said that. First, I got to say shout out to Mama Hamilton. You know what I'm saying? Definitely a pillar in the community. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I know when I moved back here,
I hate to cut you off, but I'm gonna say this because there's a lot more than my mother that are pillars. That some that have gone and some that are still with us. I can say it because it's true and not just because she's mine. But I wish that we could do a show where we could really highlight all of these pillars in our community.
Just name a few. Just name a few for us.
Man,
Because
come on, the Sheffield family, the Northcutt family, the Stamps family, and Mr. and Mrs. Stamps. All three of their grandchildren are educators on high levels. That's the legacy they left behind. Jacinda just accepted a job, and I mean that she's at Austin P. I mean, we have great, huge families. The London family, pillars of the society, man. The Duncans, Mr. and Mrs. Cliff Campbell. These are people that have been trying since I was a kid, man, to give to our children and to impress upon them the importance of community, family, and education, and good, clean living, man. For some reason, we're not translating that over to them, and I think we've allowed popular society like music and and movies and TV to give a bad rap to educating yourself. There's
Shout
ways
out
you
to
can
Nino
yeah, there's ways you can educate yourself that not all kids are going to go to college, but you can educate yourself to be a professional and make a good living and make a better living for yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, and this is, first shout out to Nino Black, man, for chiming in, man. You know what I'm saying, with the Black Power Fist, man. Nino Black, man. I
All
would
day.
I would love for y'all two to link up, man. I think y'all really enjoy, a good dialogue. Hopefully, man, he could have you on his show, man. Black Thoughts,
Sure.
man. Yeah, man. He's always he's doing this thing up in Nashville and the Black communities there, man. He's been
Okay.
doing this thing. He's what I would call. I'm not saying he's hiding in plain sight, but what he does is like you can see it if you're with him, but a lot of people wouldn't notice, a lot that he's done in the community, and
Hmm.
he's like that, he's more about the people than he is for himself, man. I congratulate
Man,
him on what he's doing. You know what I mean?
I would love to meet the brother and link up with him because that's what it takes. I mean, we went through a time period now where everybody wants fame and they want celebrity, and they don't realize what that fame monster really is.
Yeah,
You have to do some really way out there things to get fame and then to hold on to it.
yeah.
But what it does to you as a person sometimes can be pretty horrible.
So here's now about the micro a little more. You know what I'm saying? As we kind of get to the tail end, I guess we're somewhere about 75% in within the show.
Show's too short, man.
I know. Usually, just try to do it like 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, but here's the thing. I know we and we can our aim. We try not to go over 2 hours. I was just saying that. Hold on. What are you saying? Oh, I appreciate the kind words. We need help, not celebrity. Already. Got
Absolutely.
Black Thoughts, man. He's actually coming on tomorrow, if I'm correct. You might want
Yeah,
to chime in just to see what he got going, man. It's under
yeah,
under.
that would be
Yeah.
cool. That would be cool.
So I'm gonna micro this a little bit more though. Like, so when I came back in August, September, whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? I went to the the little juke joints out here. You know what I mean? And just peeping the scene a little bit. Checking out the young people out there, and there were so many of them. You know what I mean? And of course, everybody likes to go out and have a good time. That's
Yeah.
where you're gonna see the majority of your young folks that want to kick it. And I kind of get it because when I was at that age, in my mind, I was kind of like dude off on Menace to Society. No, it's boys in the you know what I'm saying. You got time for that shit, Sharif? I mean, what is
Right.
this? What is this? You know what I mean? But honestly, when you get older, you start to realize some things. And the first thing that I was looking at when I saw the youth out there was potential voters, right?
Mm,
And when we speak about 4% of, I felt like I was looking at the 4%
yeah.
right there. You know what I'm saying? Even Winchester come through from time to time, Shelbyville and all that. And I was thinking,
Shout
well,
out, man. Shout out to Winchester, Shelbyville,
oh,
Fayetteville, Manchester. That's family, man.
yeah,
That's
man,
real
micropolitan
family.
area. I just read that we were actually in the top 50 in the micropolitan area as far as just economically, right? I
Hmm.
think it's like 56 overall out of 157 micropolitan areas in the U.S. Number two here
Wow.
in Tennessee, and I was sitting there thinking like, okay, now I know. I heard you speak about, with even though we have a lower populace here in the Tullahoma micropolitan area, but we spend the most money.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about all that also. Now, here's a question I got to ask here, because this all kind of ties into when you were talking about, well, I wonder what the crime rate was then compared to now. And
Mm-hmm.
talking about Black Wall Street, and with Black Wall Street, hundreds of businesses, they even had their own airports and doctors and grocery stores and
Mm-hmm.
shoe shiners, you know what I'm saying? But like, regardless of how much money you made, whether it was lower money or higher money, it all contributed in that same pot, circulated almost 40 times before it jumped
Before
out
it
the,
left.
you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Why do you feel it's so hard to have Black businesses here in our micropolitan area, especially Tullahoma? There's only two that I know of.
Mm.
I think we got a printer shop and a funeral home, if I'm correct.
Well,
Why do you think?
Okay, I want to go back
Yeah,
just
let's
a
go.
second. I'm gonna come back to this. When you
Yeah.
said you went to the little juke joints and stuff, that's an important part of our social scene,
Hmm.
and it shouldn't be frowned upon.
Correct.
When I was a kid, like there used to be events at CD Stamps, like Star for the Night. Some of the older cats will remember that, where they would have talent shows, and everybody would come out and do like little talent shows, and they'd have dinner, and then they'd have a little dance. And I was a little kid,
Yeah.
but and then growing up being a musician and in the music industry, I learned from my parents how to go out and have a good time. I learned what that meant. I learned how to dance. I learned how to dance at home because there was so many of us. And my older brothers and sisters were really into dancing. So we
Yeah.
learned how to dance. We learned how to conduct yourself, when you leave the house, and how to dress and how to have fun and what to expect and what to do and what not to do. And a lot of the young brothers and sisters, they want to have a good time, and rightfully so, they should. But I,
Yeah.
I really think that there is a older element that's needed to kind of coach, just kind of coach our young brothers and sisters on how to have a good time, how to dress. You can still be fly and sexy without putting yourself out there in a world full of hyenas.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think that would be really cool, like my uncle owned a place, Casablanca,
Mm.
and one of the things that I've noticed in other communities, they're older and they're young. They party together. They
Mm.
have a good time together, and they learn how to conduct themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe we should kind of go back to that.
I feel you.
So, but anyway,
Because no, 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 wait, you say that because I'm gonna tell you this, that whole. I'm gonna tell you right now. There's this dude. They call him Junebug. He's done went viral all around. In 2 months, he done. He created this dance, kind of similar to others. It actually reminds me of some stuff back in the '60s though. But it's called the
mhm,
Junebug, where they're like
huh?
doing this stuff, right? And
Um,
this dude don't went viral in 2 months. Now he's on tour and everything. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, man, that's like one of them old dances back from the '50s and
yeah.
'60s.
Do you know how much exercise we got from going to dance?
Oh yeah,
And
oh
then,
yeah,
then, then, like we used to learn to dance in school. So you learn
yeah.
how to dance with a partner, and then there
Hmm.
was some dances that you just do by yourself. But we stayed and we had a lot of fun. Learned how
Yeah,
to
yeah,
exercise. It was a rarity for somebody to get into a fight, and it
yeah,
was super rare to hear gunshots.
yeah,
So I mean, I think a lot of times, when you take young people who really haven't had good experiences with the adults and learned a little bit, and some of that is the economic piece too. Being able to dress the way you want to dress, and knowing how to talk to a young lady, or knowing how to present yourself for a young man, and you know, all those little what they call microaggressions can create the powder keg that we see now popping off at the club, where people are fighting whatnot. But yeah, man, I miss dancing. I love the dancing, but my mother and father, there's videos on Facebook of
yeah.
them in their old age before my father passed in the living room getting it in, man, cutting
Oh
it.
wow.
Yeah, man. I mean, those things are missing. We don't have the social outlet like we used to have.
Mm,
When churches used to have singing programs every Friday night. So at least there was some type of social thing going on with live music and people having a good time together. We don't have any of that stuff anymore. But we
mm.
see all the negative effects that not having those community uh, activities are having on our kids, because our kids are
Right.
wilding out, man. Selling themselves really short. But anyway, um, you're talking about the small percentage of black people
Right.
in this little, what you call it,
Micropolitan area.
micropolitan area.
Yeah.
It's power. Power. Your
Mm,
power's in your numbers. I think I made the statement before. Even though Tullahoma is only 4% black,
right.
with some of the issues and things and situations going on there now, especially on the political scene, it
Right.
it would be it would be pretty bad for any one of the businesses in town to lose consistently 4% of their business every month, because we as black people said, you know what, we're going to hold our money, and we're not going to spend money here until this is addressed, uh, concerning the political scene in Tullahoma.
Mm,
So what if we multiply that to Tullahoma and Manchester and Shelbyville and Winchester and these surrounding areas and unify ourselves. It's about power. So a lot of times the things that keep us from doing that is, you know, our communities have been destroyed. We don't have the economic base. Well, we think we don't have the economic base.
Right.
But what we don't have is we need the conversation. We need to sit down and talk. I would love to have a place that we can all come and sit down and chat off of the internet and talk about what things we can do to better our situation and better our odds at achieving goals and getting out of this microplex what we should get rightfully, and how we can better direct our funds to regardless of what anyone else do. We're going to fund ourselves first. That's the kind of conversations we need to have. Those are our adult and young adult conversations, because young adults spend more money. They have more of the influence as far as trends and whatnot. But it's the new trend is supporting Black businesses going to historically Black colleges. That's the new trend. So it's time to create that economic situation where we're funding ourselves. Other communities do it all the time, and they continue to do it.
Definitely. I really think that's something that we definitely need to talk about. And I mean, definitely. To keep it honest, definitely not like online or whatnot.
No.
We definitely would have to come together and meet. But the problem that I have here, honestly, if I can speak my mind a little bit.
Speak your mind, bro. Let's be real.
I feel that some of our Black brothers and sisters here in Tullahoma are pretty content with that type of movement. I don't really understand what's going on from people my age to your age, and even to the 20-year-olds and stuff like that. They our crime rates, our homicides, drug overdoses, and stuff like that. It just seems like it just keeps hindering us from getting that particular mentality. We're going back to the mentality again. You know what I'm saying? And let's just keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real. I'll just go ahead and say it.
Do that.
So last week I had pretty much said something about the celebration of Black History Month. Here in Tullahoma, and I went into the CD Stamps area and everything, and I saw some different presentations of certain Black people who've made historical moments. One thing I did like, it was I think it was one of the memorial rooms or whatnot in CD Stamps. It was speaking on Mr. Stamps and his family, and I got to see the Davidson Academy Wall, and when they started back in 1898 up until like 1964, and seeing the jerseys and the soapbox and stuff like that. That really made me think about, like, man, how much history, how much Black history is here in Tullahoma, Tennessee.
Yes,
and I guess
sir.
my question is to you, what I'm saying, with you and your family and everything. Why has it become like a folktale, so to speak? It's just even with stuff that I try to research, it's not. I can't really find much,
Yeah.
And why do you think that's happened? What's going on?
Well, history is written by the victors. It's a different tale when the rabbit got the gun. You know what I'm saying? There's an African proverb, and to kind of paraphrase, it says, the story be told different if the lion won. And there's a concerted effort to keep that history from Black people. Let's be real.
Yeah.
There's money. There's a lot more money in keeping Black people apart than it is putting them together.
Right.
There's more money in keeping Black couples from marrying, because see, there's 2 rents that you got to pay, and 2 light bills, and 2, you feel me?
Right.
So there's a concerted effort to ignore. Benign neglect has been a policy for many years. but it's a concerted effort to to ignore the achievements of Black people. The Stamps family and what Dr. Stamps and his wife did in Tullahoma is just, it's unconscionable that the bigger deal has not been made, because who else has done what they did with what they had in Tullahoma? Who else? Who else has done what they did with what they had in Tullahoma? There isn't even a school named after them, and it should be.
Yeah,
See, City Stamps used to be a school.
Used to be a school.
I still remember the old building really well. It was much bigger. The gym was much bigger, and it served our community well. I remember the blacktop was too. But if we don't preserve our history there, why would someone else? See, Tullahoma has, I wanted to, there's something I'll talk to you about later. Tullahoma still has the remnants of the people, the hardest working people to ever be in that area. They are elderly now, but those people were no punks and they were no slouches. They worked hard. They went against the grain, even, when their job depended on it. And that's what we don't have now. A lot of people are comfortable. A lot of people don't want to mess with their paycheck.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to potentially sacrifice a job or a position, so they're complacent. And that's just what it is. Because, when I was a little child or before, those people, even though Black people still didn't have their full rights and didn't have it within the community, they kept it tight. And they kept it on point. The children were taken care of and whatnot. So for what you were talking about, I haven't seen that display, and I haven't been to City Stamps in a while. I really need to take some time and come down there and check it out. But there's so many people in Tullahoma, so many people who have been instrumental to what Tullahoma has been for Black people, and some of them are still there right now. They should be lauded. They should be appreciated and put on a pedestal. There should be a special time that we celebrate those people at least once a year, every year, so that every Black child that comes through Tullahoma, they know who these people are.
Right.
And that's where, go ahead.
No, true. No, I'm just saying on that note, man, we're going to go to our last commercial break, man. We're going to come back and kind of close this all together, man. And
because I do want to talk about crime. There's a couple of things I wanted to say about crime and Black on Black crime in particular, and some resources that I want to share.
Please do, and we will come back to that, guys, in just about a minute and a half or so. So hang on tight, please share, and we'll be right back. All right.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Check it out. It's free. What? And we like free. No way. And they also have tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Okay. Anchor will do all the work for you. No. So it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other media outlets. What? You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What's up, ladies? It's your girl, Cynthia Bailey from The Real Housewives of Atlanta, and I got some good news. Dorbin Salon is back open. I know if you guys are like me, you see I have these braids over here. It's been a struggle during the pandemic. So Dorbin Salon is back open. They sell hair, they do hair, they deliver whatever you need. They got you, boo-boo. Okay? Make sure you guys go show some love and go get your hair done.
Hey everybody, Eddie George here. I just want to encourage you to shop at local small businesses like Dollar City in Nashville, Tennessee, your neighborhood convenient dollar store providing various brands and different products. They need your support. We've got to go support them during times like these. Check them out. They do an exceptional job. Support our small businesses. Thank you.
What up? What up? It's your boy Royce the Voice, Orange Click, Orange Leader. Shout out to K-Team. Speak your thoughts or lose your mind. And welcome back, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for still hanging up in there. And please continue to share as we kind of, tap in a little bit on this black on black crime. I know Mr. Hamilton, wanted to expound on a few things and some references and resources and stuff like that to speak on. And I kind of just want to come back to that, man. What was that you had on your mind?
I was thinking, I look at the definitions of crime and the definition of a criminal, and I made the statements earlier that crime has changed over the years. What's considered to be criminal has changed and went through some, drastic changes in this country, not to mention anywhere else. I mean, murder is a crime, right?
True.
But there was a time when murder wasn't a crime.
True.
Like kidnapping is a crime. But there was a time when kidnapping wasn't a crime. Right? Enslaving someone is a crime. But there was a time that it was not a crime. So what changed? Was it the actors, the people, or the definition that they gave to you? Now, we talked about Reconstruction. We talked about Jim Crow. During the time of Jim Crow, there were a lot of laws created, like the vagrancy laws and whatnot, that are not on the books right now. Some of them just recently come off the books. So, in a sense, the perception of those who create the crime laws has everything to do with who is considered a criminal. There used to be a time when smoking marijuana was a crime. But those laws are changing.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
There was a time when cocaine was not illegal and it was not considered a crime. But that law changed. There's correlations. There's direct correlations from the black perspective of black on black crime. There's correlations between laws changing and whatnot, and that can be argued and what, but I do want to say this. There's a website called blackdemographics.com. And
I think I wrote that down there.
Blackdemographics.com is created by black people about black people in this country. And there's statistics on, population, household, culture, everything. When people come to you with the whole black on black crime deal, come to blackdemographics.com and look up the crime statistics. Because, okay, if we go there now, would you think that black incarceration is up or down right now with the narrative that's given on, mainstream media?
With the narrative, I'm gonna say it's down.
And you'd be right, because it's been steadily decreasing. Black incarceration has since the Bush eras. Well, even really before Bush, steadily decreasing. But the narrative that's given would make you think otherwise.
And so do you think that helps create that mentality? That,
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, you think that helps create that mentality as far as false narratives from the media?
Absolutely. When you don't know the numbers, because, there used to be a saying that 90% of statistics are made up on the spot. Something to that effect. People can quote statistics all day long, but very rarely do they give sources. I mean, you can look up the national crime statistics also, that the government tallies, and you can look up like life statistics from the CDC's website. But this black demographics kind of outlines specifically black people's issues, but they pull their information, directly from the government, from the census, from the CDC and whatnot. So this information right now is from the latest U.S. Census from 2017. So, I mean, you'll hear that narrative about black on black crime. But if you look at the crime statistics of black people, there's more crime committed by non-black people than black people. But there's more crime committed on black people by black people, and the same for white people or whoever else. So that narrative that they create is not actually true. These are political talking points to push agendas, and those agendas can sometimes control and change policies. You know, I've seen it's really interesting, and I wish everybody would just take a look at it. You know, like I heard somebody talking about how it's been Black Lives Matter has been being violent, killing police, and all this kind of stuff. There's no statistics to support that.
Right.
You know, challenge people, cite your sources, show, because really, honestly, in today's age, that's just a couple of clicks away. Everybody's got a cell phone. That's the most powerful computer on the planet. It don't take long to look it up, you know.
Right.
But when people, especially politicians, I wish people would understand politicians are really not your friend. Politicians are people that create and support policies. And a lot of times it's from the majority or whoever gives the most money to them. You know, let's be real. Let's really be real. You buy a politician. You don't, you know, we do need to vote for sure. We absolutely need to vote, but we also need to take our money and put it behind politicians who support policies that are in our interest. If we don't do that, then, you know, you can vote, but it's a really nice symbolic gesture. But as far as making policy happen, you're out of luck.
That's crazy.
That's the facts.
That is crazy.
I've said I've mentioned Dr. Claude Anderson and Powernomics before, and I really wish. I mean, some people are not avid readers, and that's cool. I think that's one of the things that we as Black people should start to make a more of a really concerted effort to be better readers than we are now. But at least get on YouTube and look up Dr. Claude Anderson and Powernomics. Powernomics. He lays it out really, really, really easily. Dr. Amos Wilson's The Blueprint for Black Power is another one. They lay it out very, it's real interesting to me that both of these brothers put this stuff out almost 30 years ago, but we don't hear it talked about in our churches. We don't hear it talked about in our Black, in our HBCUs. We don't hear it talked about by our quote unquote political leaders, because it's all of, this is about power, man.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And definitely is, man, because, if, man, I just wish there was some way, but we will. Definitely.
We have to. We've talked about some things, but honestly, Royce, we have to do this. We have to do this on our own. Revolution, everybody likes to talk about revolution. Revolution is not a sudden thing. It's a sudden thing. By the time you realize it, things have changed, but it's been brewing for a long time. When COVID happened, and all of a sudden we started relying on the internet for things like this and for, so much for education and everything. Now there's a revolution of using the internet in a different way, which honestly, for, people listening, that's opportunity for all you coders and all you web designers and whatnot. COVID has shown us how bad we are and how behind we are with internet related high-speed data transfer for videos and all that kind of stuff. So that's opportunity. That's a little nugget I'm gonna give you. But revolution takes and Paul, you're exactly right. Powernomics gave us the recipe. It gave us the blueprint. It laid it out very simply. But the little things, the things that we're talking about right now today, Royce, this is what causes a revolution. The only difference between micro and macro is micro happens on a smaller scale, but macro happens the exact same way. If we, with this metroplex that we're talking about, can get ourselves together to benefit ourselves, it's much easier for other areas and communities to do the same thing. But that's what it's going to take. It's going to take that, you know.
So I guess, I mean, I know we have a lot of work to do.
We do.
I know we do, and I really appreciate the time that you've given us and everything. And hopefully, man, we can just dive into some other things, man.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much more that we need to talk about and everything, and just the way this weather is acting and stuff like that, the way the lights are flickering and all that. I'm like, okay, let's make sure we don't cut off abruptly. But man,
let me say one last thing
I
before
want to say, is anything you want to end off with?
I do. Royce, without people like yourself, we wouldn't have the platform to even have these conversations. And I appreciate you sharing your platform. But I want everybody that's out there and paying attention to realize it's not easy doing what he does. It's not easy to put yourself out there and open your feelings up and open up your life and let people take a look at it, because unfortunately a lot of people are not loving and caring and kind and want to build. But what you're doing is what's important. There are a lot more people out here that want something different, that will put their energy, their time, and their money behind it. I'm one of those people. I'm waiting for you to create a donate button so that I can financially support you, because I can't talk this talk if I'm not putting my money where my mouth is. And your cause is a very worthy cause. And I hope that everybody out there feels the same way I do. Y'all, let's push this brother to put a donate button up there so we can help finance what he's doing and help propel this and make it bigger than what it is. There's a lot of people on the national scale. I'm gonna say this and I'm done. There's a lot of people on the national scale that's much bigger than you think you are, that would love to shake hands and join with you in doing what you're doing, Roy. So keep doing that. I'll make myself available anytime I can. I love what you're doing. I love you as a brother, and this is what it takes, man. This is what it takes. If my ideas or my influence can go further than my name, I've done what I'm supposed to do. But your name and your influence and your image is supposed to be out there, bro. So I'm gonna always support that.
Man, I appreciate that, man. And shoot, man, I'm gonna hit you up in the green room real quick, man. We're gonna do this little quick closing and all that.
Yeah.
And no, man, just thanks again, man. Thank you for spreading
Absolutely.
your word and your knowledge. And we're gonna close this off real quick. So just chill back for a quick minute.
Okay.
All right, everybody. It is getting kind of shaky out there. Like, the weather, all the tree lines and stuff like that falling down and all that jazz. But I just want to tell everybody this: we do have some things that we need to work on as a community. My focus was on the Black community, and building those relationships, building positive mentalities. And I just have high hopes for the Black community, man. I want us to stop being content. I want us to progress. I want us to, be better mothers, better fathers, better family members. The youth is everything. We have to teach them, the right way. We have to teach them, economics. We have to teach them, how to rise above all of the stigmas that are placed against us. As you see, we just saw how media creates these propagandas and changes the narratives, to create this mentality like, oh, well, I guess there is no hope for us. I mean, look at these numbers. They're so high. What are we going to do? We got to do this. But, the real statistics are with our eyes that we see within our own eyes. If we pay attention to our own communities and micromanage that'll really kill a lot of the statistics that the media does, because they're just generally doing this stuff. Let's not leave the fact that people do change up the paperwork. Let's just keep that real. We know that happens, but our true statistics should be created through our eyes and how we affect our communities. Okay, so Tullahoma, we got a lot of work to do. Lower income communities in Tullahoma, the Black community, we got a lot of work to do, and I hope everybody's real giddy about creating a legacy, because it's not going to happen overnight. And we do know that. All right. So I hope you guys continue to share. I appreciate you guys tuning in and everything. Love you guys. We're going to close out. I'm your boy, Royce the Voice, Orange Click, Orange Leader. Shout out to K-Team. Speak your thoughts or lose your mind. And we out.